another half season of NASCAR on Fox atrocity is finally done. So now we can move on to better, superior coverage on NASCAR and NBC. Which means for the next 5 months we're going to be hearing nothing but, "Oh my God, Rick Allen sucks! He is so horrible in the booth! Why do you guys still have Rick Allen hired? Where's Mike Joy? When our bridges Mike Joy? Oh hell, Mike Joy! Oh my God, shut up!" Since the very beginning of this channel, 10 years ago, one of the most infamous rivalries that has ever existed in the NASCAR YouTube community, that's now spread to the NASCAR online community as a whole, is the commentary wars. Who has the best broadcasting and announcers amongst the NASCAR networks that cover the races? In fact, this is so old and so ridiculous, this has been going on since the beginning of the modern television contract era in 2001. But you have simple debates that go on in the community, right? And 2000 and before, it was, okay, well, these guys are cool, but I like these guys more, and it was just simple debates about it. But ever since 2001, it's been nothing but these guys rule and these guys suck. And there's always a common anomaly. The common thing for 20 years has been NASCAR on Fox versus NASCAR on everywhere else, and you guys think NASCAR on Fox is better because of one man. And that man is Mike Joy. The origins of the commentary wars basically goes back to the original contract between Fox and FX and NBC and TNT. With the trio of Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, and Larry McReynolds versus the trio of Allen Bestwick, Benny Parsons, and Wally Dallenbach. But then, after the 2006 season, things began to change a bit. NBC left, and then we had the three phases of Fox versus TNT and ESPN. For phase 1, it was Mike Joy versus Bill Weber and Jerry Punch. Phase 2 was Ralph Sheheen and Marty Reid. Phase 3 was Adam Alexander and Allen Bestwick. And now we are into our current incarnation of the renewal of Fox versus NBC with Mike Joy versus Rick Allen. And oh my God, each year the issues involving the commentary wars just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And for years, I've always thought that Fox has had the inferior coverage. I thought the Bestwick incarnation for NBC was better than Fox. The Weber incarnation was worse than Bestwick's, but it was slightly better than Fox's, mainly because of Darrell Waltrip, but still. And then we had the TNT and ESPN stuff happen. Like, TNT really didn't get a basis off it because it only had like 6 races for a lot of those years. And the Punch era, well, Jerry Punch, we'll get into that in a minute because there's another commentator that it relates to. But as where ESPN was getting better, going from Punch to Reid to Bestwick, Fox was still in a bad position with the way their coverage was going. But yet, you guys still want to praise the inferior coverage that is NASCAR on Fox. And now here we are in the current NBC incarnation of this with Rick Allen. And oh my God, you guys are horrible when it comes to him. Oh my God. It's horrible how Rick Allen's being treated. And I thought Marty Reid was treated bad by the community. Like, in terms of this community alone, and these type of things. This has been going on for over 10 years. Like, you can go back to ancient videos in YouTube's communities, in terms of the NASCAR community, and find the 3 different videos about why NASCAR on Fox sucks, and why NASCAR on ESPN sucks, why NASCAR on TNT sucks, and yeah. Back then, the NASCAR on Fox sucks videos got trashed. And you want to know how I know that? Because I made them. And it was so ridiculous I had to turn comments off. That's how bad it was. But I wonder how many of you people would agree with me today. Especially now knowing, finally figuring out after been saying this for 10 years, just how bad NASCAR on Fox's coverage has really been. Let's begin with the outlier of all this, the commercials. For years, people want to say that ESPN and NBC were the networks that had too many commercials. Newsflash, Fox has actually had more. And now casual fans who are trying to get into the sport are even noticing themselves, including Chad Johnson. Yes, that Chad Johnson, who's been noticing this problem. I've been seeing his tweets regarding this. So, your nothing but commercials garbage. Even Chad Johnson figured out it's Fox the one that has too many commercials. So, that's been debunked immediately. Oh, but the main issue for plenty of years has been the lead announcer. The ridiculousness that comes from all these different things involving the lead announcers, it's like anyone who isn't Mike Joy, you guys want to trash and say the person automatically sucks. And in terms of my generation, the original victim in all of this was Marty Reid. Now, Marty Reid's been around a long time. He had, a 31-year career, a part of ESPN mainly, covering IndyCar and NASCAR and the NHRA. But all you guys really wanted to do was trash on him. And it was horrible. Like, he's not my favorite announcer of all time, but I have a lot of sympathy for all the things that he's been through and then some. Including what I believe was the factor into him retiring, and I made a video on that years ago. But the overpraising on Mike Joy is just so horrible. I'm now seeing announcers that have nothing to do with the commentary wars being attacked like this. Like this recently. Recently in the NASCAR Reddit, someone had the idea that Ken Squire was the curse to Dale Earnhardt in the Daytona 500. What? Who made that up? Oh, Ken Squire covered every Daytona 500 that Dale Earnhardt lost, and then all of a sudden Mike Joy took over and, Earnhardt won. Then explain to me how Dale Earnhardt did not win the 99, 2000, or 2001 Daytona 500s then with Mike Joy announcing. Got you there. But as much as the commentators of the old days are getting trashed now all of a sudden for no reason because of the all-hail Mike Joyness of the Joy Boys, and especially the commentators before Rick Allen that's involved in the commentary wars, and especially Marty Reid, have been trashed and thrashed and abused by the Joy Boys. Oh my God, I thought Marty Reid was abused by the Joy Boys. It's nothing compared to what Rick Allen's had to go through. Oh my God. Like, Rick Allen was originally a part of the NASCAR on Fox team as a part of the Speed Channel with the Truck Series when they got the rights to the Truck Series in 2003. And since his rookie year in 2003, he's definitely made himself a very worthy lead announcer. But oh my God, you guys, ever since he went to NBC and became opposite Mike Joy, now all of a sudden he's freaking horrible and la 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 la. Why? Because he's not Mike Joy? Because that's literally your excuse for everybody else, Joy Boys. Like this one, for example. There was that ending in the Texas 2020 race where Harrison Burton pulled a last turn pass against Noah Gragson. And what's everyone talking about? Oh my God, Rick Allen said Harrison Burton turns left. How stupid! Well, what'd you want him to say? He turned right? Because he clearly turned left. I don't see how that's a problem. than saying, oh, that's brilliant commentating. That's exactly what he did. All hail Mike Joy. That's what you guys would be doing right now. But because it's Rick Allen, it's, oh, that was a horrible call. He turned left. Not to mention the ridiculous assumptions that have been going on against Rick Allen for no reason since, no joke, since he joined the NASCAR and ABC broadcast stuff in 2015. Like, oh my God. Like, look at these assumptions that are so ridiculous. It's horrible. A couple of these are just cringe. And I just don't understand a lot of these things in terms of this kind of stuff. But you guys reaching out against him, that's just horrible. It really is. I just don't understand why you guys are so hellbound determined to reach out against Rick Allen for the stupidest things. Like, I even saw one comment in a funny mini video. Like, the video is... it was an adorable video of someone doing what looks to be mini cars racing on a treadmill, which was adorable. And they put Rick Allen's voice to it, and it was an adorable video. And what comment do I see? Rick is the worst broadcaster ever. Makes a lot of incorrect comments and terrible at describing anything on track. All he does is raise his voice at any little thing. Please move on soon. Raise his voice. And I also like the fact that on a weekly basis, I am seeing people trying to assume that Rick Allen is having strokes. Now, I'm not the most accurate person in terms of determining what's a joke and what's not, but is that really the best word? Really? Like, how many times do I have to see people saying that Rick Allen had a stroke? Like, if you guys are legit concerned about his health, then okay, but otherwise, I don't know what's really going on here with you guys trashing him the way it is. Oh, but we're not done. And I'm amazed that people are raging out about this. The fact that ever since he joined NASCAR and NBC, he is trying to stop using his signature speed channel call of problems. And I'm amazed that people were raging out about that. I thought people would hate that. So, for those who don't know, the reason that he stopped using that phrase is because of the fact that his kids showed him a montage of him saying problems that was in a YouTube video. So, it looks like that Rick tries to professionalize basically him calling the race to the point that he was determined to not use problems. Like, there was that one year that people thought he was going to go crazy saying penultimate or second to last during the second to last race of the season. And he determined to himself that he was not going to use penultimate that entire weekend. And I don't believe he did. But people still rage out against him about that. They still do. And it's just freaking ridiculous at this point. The abuse against all these other announcers not named Mike Joy is just atrociously ridiculous. It's just bad. It really is. It was ridiculous when it came to you guys abusing Allen Bestwick, and don't say you haven't, I'll prove it. It was atrociously bad when you guys abused Marty Reid, but it's god-awful what you guys are doing with Rick Allen right now. It really is. And realistically, every lead announcer not named Mike Joy has had this fate. Every single lead announcer not named Mike Joy since 2001, with one possible exception, has been abused by the Joy Boys and raged out by them. And it's really getting ridiculous, because here is what's actually going on. listen, I know that Mike Joy's been around a while. He's been doing the calling of races before I was born, and I'm 30 at this point. So I get that. A lot of these announcers are actually. But here's the problem I don't think the Joy Boys are realizing. Listen, Mike Joy is a good announcer. You have to be around a while, like a lot of the announcers of today. But here's the problem. Is Mike Joy the GOAT of racing announcers? No. Is he the GOAT of the racing announcers of today's period? No. Is he the worst announcer, though? No. Mike Joy is in the category of slightly above average, albeit it's going down each year. Because as much as I like the commentary of other commentators over the years in comparison to Mike Joy, oh my God, Joy was just awful this year. He really is. And honestly, if you were to ask me the question, was he the best of the Fox announcers throughout the entire time period of NASCAR on Fox, I would have said no. There is someone who has done commentary for Fox that I honestly believe is better than Mike Joy. And that, of course, is the late Steve Burns. I definitely believe that he would have been a superior announcer had circumstances be different. But the even bigger problem in terms of Mike Joy isn't Mike Joy. It's his fan base, the Joy Boys. Because of the stupidity that has gone on with the abuse and rage outs and dumb assumptions against every lead announcer not named Mike Joy since 2001, the Joy Boys are making Mike Joy hateable. And that's not fair to him. If you Joy Boys really cared about Mike Joy, you guys would not be doing this to all the other announcers. Because all you're doing is making those who are not Joy Boys hate on Mike Joy. That's not fair to him. It really isn't. Like, in 2021, Mike Joy started having this hate on for lower level teams and drivers who may or may not have gotten into the sport either because of money or family. Like, Cody Ware's the perfect example for this. Like, whenever Cody Ware had an issue on track, Mike Joy would just and rage out against him. And it was very bad to the point that people did notice. But what did the Joy Boys do? Oh, that's brilliant commentary. Cody Ware's totally not worthy of being on a racetrack. Way to go, Mike. Thanks for calling him out. If Rick Allen did the exact same call, it would be, oh my God, Rick Allen is so horrible at his job. How dare he call out Cody Ware? He's going through mental health issues and all that stuff. Rick Allen is horrible. Fire him and make Mike Joy cover the entire season. That's literally what you guys would be doing right now. It is so awful and pathetic, the ridiculousness that you guys have in terms of this kind of thing. Not to mention, this has been going on in some capacity since 2001. The original opposite Mike Joy is Allen Bestwick, someone who has not done NASCAR in any way, shape, and form since 2014. And now we're having people clamoring to have Allen Bestwick back. And he's going to do the SRX series for its first season. Why would he come back to NASCAR? He's been through the thing that the Joy Boys have done to other announcers in the past. You Joy Boys have done this before. You are total hypocrites. When Marty Reid was in the booth for ESPN, you guys said, we want Allen Bestwick in the booth. No. And then you did, and then you said one of two things. NASCAR and ESPN is so awful. Have Fox cover the entire season. Or, well, Bestwick, Scooby, we want Mike Joy cover the entire season. Can you have Mike Joy cover the entire season? Hypocrites. That's what you Joy Boys are. It really is. And now Mike Joy himself is feeding into that. His commentary has been god-awful in 2021. And don't try and say otherwise, because we know it. Like, I don't think he was better than Bestwick, and I still don't. He was close with Weber and Punch. Reid was slightly better. And Bestwick is eons better. And Rick Allen at this point is also better. Like, Joy is, like, here's average, here's Mike Joy. Most of the other announcers is even above him now. That's how bad this is for the Joy Boys. And for Mike Joy especially. So, for the love of God, stop defending Mike Joy! You guys have been at this for 20 years, and all it is awful empathetic. It really is. Yes, Mike Joy's a good announcer, but he's not the GOAT! He's not Bob Jenkins, thank you! Oh, and I found this as well. When NRF, not NRE, NRF is calling Mike Joy a national treasure, you know that's wrong. Oh, but here's one I really like. In regards to Bestwick. Because he's been out for 7 years, and now he's going to do the SRX series, you guys are clamoring to once again have Allen Bestwick return to the booth. Like, have you guys not realized what you did the first 2 times that Bestwick was in the booth? First for NBC and then ESPN? You guys hated on him. But Wagon, we love Allen Bestwick. Why would we hate on him? This is a collection of magazines, and most of these are from a long-forgotten publication known as Racing Milestones. Let's look at some fan letters, shall we? From the August 2001 edition of NASCAR Illustrated. I have read a lot of letters from people who have not had much good to say about the TV coverage we have gotten from Fox. Let me just say that I think we have gotten great coverage. Sorry, but I do get FSN and FX. Actually, I don't think I'll apologize for that. Fox has had a bad start to its coverage. First, the thing with not showing the sponsors on the cars during the lineup. Well, NASCAR said something and they fixed it. Then they had the accident with Dale Earnhardt. Fox has done nothing but act with class over that. The way they presented the funeral was truly respectful, and I thank them for that. The bantering between all of these guys has been great, and guess what? I saw every qualifying and happy hour this year. Did everyone forget that the only time we saw this was when ESPN covered the race? Good luck to all of you on the off-season for you. I can't wait to see you next year. NBC has a lot to live up to. My teenage daughters and I are big NASCAR fans. We started watching on a regular basis about 2 years ago. I'd like to express my concern with the promotional commercials that Fox and FX ran during many NASCAR events. NASCAR has become a very family-friendly sport. I know they have worked hard on their family image. Racing is the only sport I know of that has an organization like MRO travel with them and has a prayer event before every event. Until this year, I have had no trouble allowing my girls total access to NASCAR coverage. Fox has changed that. Promos on FX for shows like Son of the Beach and The Test make me sick. On Fox, The Simpsons promos, for example, are tasteless. They are not family-friendly at all. I'm thrilled with the Fox announcers and the show itself. I do feel the Playboy Mansion segment was inappropriate when they were in California, though. Darrell Waltrip, Larry Frells, and Jeff Hammond add to the show greatly. I know that NASCAR is in a long-term contract with Fox, so ESPN isn't an option again for a while. I know I'm only in a small voice, but please hear me, NASCAR. I really don't think I am alone in my concern. Fox, please remember, families of all ages are watching. I would love to see you keep it clean so we can keep watching. From the September 2001 issue of NASCAR Illustrated. In In the July issue of NASCAR Winston Cup Illustrated, other fans were complaining about the schedule changes from ESPN, ESPN2, TNN, CBS, and TBS. I personally believe that Fox and FX were doing very enjoyable broadcasts. There was nothing better than turning on the TV and having Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joy, and Larry McReynolds at the Hollywood Hotel. I was disappointed that during the second half of the season, Fox and FX would not be doing the broadcast anymore. I was very unhappy to see that qualifying and happy hour would be on CNN Sports Illustrated. My cable operator doesn't carry CNN Sports Illustrated, meaning I won't be able to see my favorite parts of the race weekend. The races seem to be more fun on Fox than on NBC. Because you don't have a channel? Really? How does that make sense? I'm positive that channel shut down after the year, by the way, so that doesn't work. From the holiday issue of Racing Milestones 2001.
Get rid of NBC. They ought to be banned from NASCAR before they destroy the sport. Send them back to tennis, golf, and/or soap operas. With NBC, you'll watch 6 minutes of racing and 15 minutes of commercials. The Fox crew has always done a fabulous job, like with the Pepsi 400 at Daytona.
The Pepsi 400 at Daytona was covered by NBC, not Fox, you clod!
When there was a wreck, they at least know who was driving what car without going to commercial and trying to read the racing form. Get Ned Jarrett, Bernie Parsons, and all Hollywood Darrell Waltrip and get us back to NASCAR racing as it was before NBC.
From the February 2002 edition of Racing Milestones. Oh, Fox versus NBC. This should go well. The other day I was watching commercials and a race broke out. I can't believe how nice it is of NBC TNT to show races between commercials. Surely NASCAR did not sign up for this kind of coverage. We, the race fans, are the ones who fill the stands, buy the driver's merchandise, and sit in front of the TV to boost the ratings. I know that you need sponsors to pay the bills. We, the fans, have been here long before these sponsors knew what Bristol and Martinsville were, or who the Wood brothers or Richard Childress were. Some of us can't make it to the races. We are no different than any other sports fans. We need full, accurate coverage. Allen Bestwick and Wally Dallenbach act like they're not watching the same race as the rest of us. Most of the time, they can't get the driver, car, and team owner together. NBC and TNT in its reports about the sponsors. Not the race, not the fans. Please do not forget about us TV fans. The second half of the season has soured a lot of us. It's up to you to fix it. Please do not let NBC TNT give empty promises of better coverage. Make them bring back the races to us. If anyone is wondering, besides Fox, ESPN took very good care of us also. Dude, I watched the broadcast in 2001. Both networks had their mistakes, but if you really think that Fox is that superior, you're in the minority, buddy. Oh, but that's not all the Joy Boys did in 2001. From the same issue. This is my unbiased opinion. Fox smoked NBC in all aspects of their race coverage. Why is it that TNT NBC seem to wait until the end of the best part of the races to start flooding us with commercials? Then they get back to us and tell us about the excitement we missed. That's Fox, buddy. Fox's coverage was very good. They explained things and had a good relationship with the drivers and fans. It was very enjoyable and easy to listen to. I would make sure Fox was the only one that would cover the races. NBC TNT are completely lost when it comes to NASCAR. The goal of the Joy Boys since 2001. I believe Fox was the best. When my family watched Fox, we were well informed and had a great time on race day with all of the Fox teams. But when TNT NBC took over, it seemed they showed the same racer every week and had too many commercials. And when something happened during the commercials, they replayed it. They always stared at the wrong place in the race. NASCAR, if you must change channels, don't change broadcasters. You are messing up NASCAR racing. Okay. In this particular issue, there was a lot of things that were going on here. And a lot of things were, pretty infuriating. Like, all of these different things that have been going on, including this little survey over here of suggestions that have no chance of happening. One of them is bring back ESPN. And the fact that number 2 is more shots of girls. And then you have these surveys and stuff, and here is the aforementioned Allen Bestwick, the precious Allen Bestwick, as you guys try to say he is today. You guys didn't treat him as precious in 2001. From this magazine. Allen Bestwick unfortunately emerged as the Jeff Gordon of the broadcast booth. First of all, that's a poor choice of words. Why Jeff Gordon? Clean-cut, talented, and very unpopular with a certain segment of race fans. Bestwick is about as thrilling as watching butter melt on toast. Sure. And then you have all these different surveys. Like, I don't understand this at all. On what planet do you all think that Darrell Waltrip is better than Benny Parsons? On what planet do you think that Allen Bestwick is eons worse than Mike Joy? Hello? There's even a response to all of this kind of stuff. And here's a funny one for you. In the best televised and worst televised race thing, you have the Pepsi 400 at Daytona in there twice. For both of them. You have it as the best televised race and at the third worst televised race. I wonder who voted it as the third worst televised race. Oh yeah, Joy Boys! From the April 2002 edition of Racing Milestones.
I find the criticism of NBC's race coverage to be rather disappointing and disturbing. Not too long ago, NASCAR races could rarely be found on the airwaves, and please don't even bother talking about the quality of these so-called telecasts. Now we are blessed with a smorgasbord of races virtually each and every weekend of the year, and people still have the gall to complain about things. Mark my words, if we complain long and hard enough, the networks will eventually get tired of the noise and switch the coverage to other sports. How's a nice quiet round of golf sound to you? This dude predicted the future. From the October 2002 edition of Racing Milestones. I want to voice my opinion and congratulate NBC for the worst televised race, Tropicana 400 in Chicago on July 14, 2002. I've ever had the misery of sit through in my 10 years as a NASCAR fan. They managed to air 80% commercials and a pathetic 20% of the race. I don't think 10 straight laps were aired. They managed to miss every bit of the action and made the few minutes of actual racing unexciting. Race fans want to see the race, all of the race. I eat, sleep, and live racing, and NBC managed to make my favorite sport unbearable. What do you think Fox does to me? As a member of the huge circle of race fans, we loudly say, bring back Fox and DW. Please, NBC, stick to televising some dull sport like basketball and leave the racing networks to those who know and enjoy racing. Literally, the only thing he got right about in that entire thing is that basketball is dull. DW and Hollywood Hammond are the best. They know how to cover a race. Really? Now that it's mid-season, we have to switch to NBC, which cannot cover a race. If the Chicagoland Speedway Tropicana 400 was any indication of the rest of the season for Cup races, I think I'd rather turn off the voices and call my own 2 minutes of racing for 3 or 4 minutes of advertising. They need lessons from Kenny Wallace or DW or Kevin Harvick for a little wit and humor. I look forward to going to Pocono Raceway at the end of July, but after that, it's back to the horrible coverage of NBC and the announcers from hell. Oh, God. You're going to regret that in a few years, buddy. There will be no boogity boogie in DW. If there's any commentating fan base worse than the Joy Boys, it's the Darrell Waltrip Defenders. From the January 2003 edition of Racing Milestones. And this is the letter I remember clearly, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this video. And calling out the hypocritical Joy Boys for who they are. Listen closely to this wordplay. I would like to offer my opinion on 2 subjects. NBC's coverage of NASCAR and NASCAR's blunder at Talladega. For this instance, we're going to focus on the NBC portion, because the Talladega portion, which was the 2002 weird race, is not relevant to this situation. So, for the NBC portion of this particular letter only, There is no question that NBC has no idea how to broadcast a Winston Cup race. The camera work is poor, but most of all, the three announcers offer little to make the racing exciting. The team of Allen Bestwick, Wally Don't Come Back, and Benny Wowsons is really bad. They are totally inferior to all other NASCAR announcers.
They are opposite Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip. Shut up, you stupid idiot!
I can't wait for the Fox team to get back, and I hope NASCAR smartens up in the future and ensures fans that race coverage is handled by professionals.
You've been on NASCAR on Fox since 2001, buddy. That's about as unprofessional as it gets. It really is. From the February 2003 edition of Racing Milestones. Oh, goody, a trio of letters. This should go well. I think TNT, NBC, and Fox should just drop NASCAR and give it back to TNN. These commercials are endless and brainless. The regulators are about to drive a person to drink. Who cares how Dale Jr. makes a ham sandwich or what he has on it? I had to laugh at that one, I'm sorry. Oh, what the drivers thought of a movie. How stupid was the border fight in the Hollywood Hotel? It took until 2003 for me to find a letter that called that out.
These clowns call themselves professional reporters? Why can't they just put out a previous race during delay or show something about the past champions? You never saw Eli Gold, Ned Jarrett, or Bob Jenkins making fools out of themselves. They're always informative and professional.
Thank you.
I can't believe all the complaints about NASCAR's television coverage. I have a hard time believing these letters are from real NASCAR fans.
That's because they're not. They're from Joy Boys.
If you don't like what you're looking at, then change the channel. It's that easy. There are a lot of people who wish they could just hear a race.
We have our boys overseas who would love to see any race, whether it be Fox or NBC. Don't cry about the coverage and then spend 3 hours watching it every Sunday. Stop watching it. Let the ratings fall, and then maybe you crybabies will get what you want. In fan mail of December 2002, there were several comments about Fox and TNT. We have to agree with them and believe that Fox does the best job. The commercials and commentators take up the biggest part of the race. At least when Fox had commercials, there was a window showing the race. Oh, jeez, really? Nobody. That didn't start until TNT did their wide-open coverage. This way, you saw the race as well as the commercials. We all know the order to keep the race on TV, someone has to pay for it, and commercials are the only way. Let's go back and stay with Fox. You're gonna regret that. From the May 2003 issue of Racing Milestones.
The two most beautiful sounds I ever heard in my life were my daughter's first tiny cry as life filled her lungs during her birth, and Darrell Waltrip's voice on the TV during the Budweiser shootout February 9, 2003.
Oh, God, buddy.
It's great to have the entire crew from Fox back in the driver's seat for more insightful coverage this season. You stupid idiot! During the race, I felt my pulse increase. I sat on the edge of my seat and had a cigarette when it was over. Welcome back, DW. I'm sure I can be the voice of thousands of NASCAR fans and say, we missed you, Fox. It's so great to have you back in the broadcast booth. It's just not the same without you.
Maybe tens, but not thousands. From the June 2003 edition of Racing Milestones. And for this, we're only going to focus on the left half, because the right half of the letter, there's no relevance to this. As a fan of NASCAR, Winston Cup, and Busch Grand National Racing for over 20 years, I do not like what I see happening to our great sport. If not for ESPN, NASCAR would not have gained the popularity it now enjoys. ESPN, followed by TNT, aired races when other networks thumbed their noses at it. Fox, FX, TNT, NBC, and now Speed cannot hold a candle to the superior coverage that's centered on the race and the fan. Does anyone care to watch Wally Dallenbach explain how to properly get around the track in his faux Winston Cup car? Here's advice coming from the guy who never came close to winning a Winston Cup race in nearly 10 years of trying, and only had this job because NBC's first pick, Kenny Wallace, had a ride and turned the job down. The only thing that saves the broadcast is the expertise of Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Jeff Hammond, but NBC is totally out of the loop. Dude, your argument was ruined in the last sentence. From the August August 2003 edition of NASCAR Illustrated. While I enjoyed some of the innovations that Fox and FX has introduced, such as fast tracks and the cutaway car, I feel they are not doing justice to Winston Cup racing. The reason is because there are 42 other drivers in the race aside from Dale Earnhardt Jr. While you can't take away from his talent, ability, and marketability, it would be nice to see some other cars involved in the race. During the Dover race, for example, Jr. was at the back of the pack for a while, yet he still got most of the camera time. If I was a major sponsor, why would I spend millions of dollars for sponsorship when my car receives no airtime? Obviously, certain drivers will get more airtime than others, especially those running up front, but why can't Fox and FX take a lesson from ESPN, which brought NASCAR to the masses? When the race went on green for a long time without much action, ESPN would pan back through the pack and say something about each car. All of the drivers and fans would love to see their favorite car. He's got a point. However, another problem happened. In the same issue,
I'm writing in defense of Darrell Waltrip after reading the letter written by Clark Busher in the July issue of NASCAR Winston Cup Illustrated. Darrell Waltrip was a good driver, and he brings excitement to the sport. Yes, there are 3 broadcasters, but they don't have to stick to specific areas of expertise. Darrell was caught in the heat of the moment, and he added the intensity to the conclusion of the race. If you were in his spot, and you used to drive a race car, you wouldn't be able to hold back your excitement either. At least I know I wouldn't be able to. I'd rather listen to Darrell than Benny Parsons.
You're going to regret that in a few years.
Darrell adds the color and excitement to the racing community. In the words of Darrell Waltrip, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Yeah, I cannot believe I had to say that. Oh, and this is not the only guy who did this. Fox and Darrell Waltrip, along with the rest of the crew, are the best thing to happen to NASCAR in a long time. I guess Mr. Bouchard would like to return to the days when ESPN covered races and made it seem absolutely boring, just as NBC does today. You fucking idiot! CBS had the original and the best, with David Hobbs and Chris Economaki, but those days are gone. Benny Parsons and Allen Bestwick do not exactly hold my attention. You're going to regret that in a few years, buddy. Darrell Waltrip and the others bring a spark to their coverage. Darrell is somewhat loud at times, but he does this job the same way he does the job behind the wheel. And that's what gives old Jaws his character. Too bad Fox can't cover the entire season. Sure, Joy Boy. From the August 2003 edition of Racing Milestones. And this one goes in the totally opposite direction.
I thought it was totally disrespectful and uncalled for the way Fox let their reporter rush right over and jump in Ryan Newman's face after that little run-in with Steve Park in California. I think NASCAR should use them for an example, at least the way they did with Kevin Harvick last year. Let's find them a lot of money and not let them come to the race. Ha ha ha. A little word to all you pit reporters out there. Please use your head. I mean, really, would you want to be interviewed right after you just got taken out in the first lap, knowing that you had a top 5 car all weekend? One more thing. If I was Ryan Newman, I would have gone Tony Stewart on that reporter.
From the October 2003 edition of Racing Milestones. I watched every Winston Cup televised race on Fox and FX. I could now watch the coverage provided by NBC. You're really missing out. I have turned off both Daytona and Chicagoland races. The audio coverage provided by NBC over the brief period I tuned in is fine. The video coverage is terrible. NBC's coverage consists of a view of a group of cars approaching, which the viewer cannot identify, and then a view of the same group receding. After these views, they switch to an uncar camera. The views change so frequently that it's difficult to follow the race. If NBC would only watch some tapes cut of the coverage by Fox, these folks might learn how to present an automobile race. All they do before the season is wasted. Oh, buddy. I was very disappointed in the Busch race at Daytona. It was 70% commercial and 30% racing. I thought I was going to get to see a good race. But I know they had to have sponsorship, but TNT didn't even cover the race. There should be way better way to get sponsorship and let the fans watch a good race. It seems like Fox can do both. So what's the deal? I guess it would take Fox getting the races all season so we could actually see what's going on. Boogity boogity. Yeah, your bias didn't come out there, buddy. From the February 2004 edition of Racing Milestones.
As a NASCAR fan for the past 20 years, I'm very disappointed in NBC's coverage of the UAW GM race at Charlotte. Not only during the race, but also they had no post-race coverage at all. If NASCAR wants to lose all their fanboys, let the NBC keep televising the races.
Oh, they're going to lose their fan base, all right, but NBC wasn't the reason. Trust me on that one, buddy. Also, no post-race? Oh, you're really going to love Fox then. You're really going to love Fox. From the June 2004 edition of Racing Milestones, and no, I did not draw that.
Buckingham was another stellar performance and delivery by the Fox men. Joy, Waltrip, and McReynolds hold the audience, educate the rookie watcher, and update and refamiliarize us with equipment changes, tactics, and the mechanics and engineering fast cars. The threesome adds smooth, polished, and accurate facts, delightful humor, and race car terminology that makes sense. Their experience and expertise are on the money. They focus on drivers' accomplishments and clarify the dilemmas drivers face in the upcoming laps. It goes without saying that these guys got it figured out.
Nobody. Nope. From the November 2004 edition of Racing Milestones.
I haven't missed a NASCAR race for more than 6 years. Last Sunday at Pocono, I found myself walking away from the TV to fix one of my children's broken toys. I was absolutely disgusted with NBC and TNT's coverage.
Dude, it's Pocono. It's supposed to be boring. Not even Fox can hop it up.
The last 2 races at Chicago and Pocono, when there was an accident or a caution, they went to a commercial break.
Well, did you want him going to commercial break during the green flag racing?
I don't care about some Bowflex. The fans aren't watching the race to get the latest updates on fitness equipment. I want to watch the race. Fox shows the reason for every yellow flag at least 5 or 6 times. We'll be lucky to see it once with NBC and TNT.
Then you're gonna love phantom debris cautions.
I get better coverage on Speed after the race is over.
Well, Speed was better than Fox, so...
And that's kind of funny because Speed is a Fox product. And then they destroyed it. I don't really care for Darrell Waltrip either, but he does one hell of a job getting the fans into the racing spirit. I think that Nextel and Fox should team up and cover every race. It'd be better for the fans.
This guy, Josh Fickle of Eugene, Oregon, he has no less than 3 letters in Racing Milestones. No less than 3. It's just bad. It really is. From the February 2005 edition of Racing Milestones. Oh, another survey thing. What is the best overall thing about racing? Fox is not number 2. Shut up. I like how one of the answers is everything, so that's cool. What is the worst thing about racing? Rule changes in mid-season. Yes, that I'll agree with. NBC, I don't think so. Also, Gibbs variant Tony Stewart. Okay. Much like Roush variant Kurt Busch. Current version better than older version. From the May 2005 edition of Racing Milestones.
Wally Dallenbach reckoned the NBC TNT Mountain Dew I never want to race Dodge at Chicago, and we can finally put Wally's World where it belongs in the first place, to bed with the fishes. Take it for what it's worth, but NASCAR is scripted anyways.
You're really gonna love 2015 then.
Maybe we can finally put BP to rest and let him retire.
You're gonna regret that in about a few years, buddy.
He still can't get people's card numbers right, and he's been announcing for how many years now?
Brett Hecker of Dayton, Ohio is another repeat offender of the multiple letter thing. Yay. From the January 2006 edition of Racing Milestones.
I read that NBC is dropping its coverage of the second half of Nextel Cup races and that ABC and ESPN are bidding for that coverage. If that happens, I hope they are smart enough to not hire Benny or Wally.
You're going to regret that in about a year.
They have a tough time getting things right and repeat the same thing week after week.
From the February 2006 edition of Racing Milestones.
Thank God that NASCAR got away from NBC. The coverage that they provided was absolutely horrible. In one race during the chase, I counted 4 green flag restarts in a row that they missed. Nothing like seeing the cars come off turn 1 and going into turn 2 after a commercial. No, you missed the drop of the green. I love Fox's coverage. I never did like Darrell Waltrip as a driver, but I love him in the booth. He has so much to offer as a driver, and Wally Dallenbach and Benny Parsons can't.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, this guy knows nothing about Benny.
The good-natured ribbon between Darrell, Jeff Hammond, and Larry McReynolds makes for fun TV. When the guys over at NBC talk, it's like a family bickering and then trying to one-up each other.
You're really going to hate Fox then.
I don't mind having jump around from network to network, so as long as it's consistent. Having 13 races in a row on Fox, then 6 on TNT, and the last 17 on ABC ESPN is far better than NBC one week than TNT the next.
Oh, boy. From the May 2006 edition of Racing Milestones.
I'm glad to see ESPN and ABC back, but not happy that Fox is still there. My biggest complaint about Fox is the amount of time for commercials. The stations may always be the same, but it always seems like Fox has more time away from the racing action.
Finally, someone gets it!
I'm so glad that in 2007 I can watch the races and not have to hit the mute button to turn off the endless chatter of Wally and Benny.
You're going to regret that in a few months, buddy.
Fox coverage has my vote. It would not make me mad if the whole season was on Fox.
Oh, my God. Joy Boy!
ESPN and TNT are good, too. It was really good that ESPN did not hold a grudge for the way NASCAR treated it in the past.
You're going to regret that in about 8 years.
Yep, let the bad times go, guys. Show us the real coverage of the races like it should be. So, thanks but no thanks, NBC. Just go back to golf or football and leave us racing fans alone.
You're going to regret that in a few years. From the May 2007 issue of Racing Milestones.
I think that they should rename the Daytona 500 the Commercial 500 because you watch 6 minutes of racing and 10 minutes of commercials and analyze all the wrecks you've seen 10 times on replay while the race is going on. They should show more of the sponsors on the cars for the commercials. That's where they pay the big money.
And who covered it in 2007? Fox. And that was the last fan letter I had received in terms of all of these magazines here. And this goes back to another point that we have in terms of this kind of thing. You guys saying that you always loved Bestwick and you always loved Benny and you didn't rage out as much as this. Those fan letters irrefutably prove that y'all lied. You didn't love Bestwick. You didn't love him on NBC. And you didn't love him on ESPN. Sure, your abuse towards Marty Reid was worse. But then when Bestwick got in the booth, it became,
okay, well, he's good, but he's not my joy. Can we have my joy all in the season, please?
pathetic! And it was very atrocious. And very ridiculous. So I'm going to fix this a different way. Because here's something else. The way that this goes, in terms of this kind of thing, the announcers do get fed up with this kind of thing. I can easily tell that Rick Allen is a perfectionist, and I can tell that there are announcers who are sick and tired of these kind of debates, including Allen Bestwick himself. Don't believe me?
Whatever role I'm in, I want to be a good teammate. I do that role to the best of my abilities. I want to bring something to the show. And felt like I did that quite capably back then and continue to work at doing that now.
That's a very good way to look at it.
I hope the fans that are involved in the commentary wars take that to heart, because they can be rampant in terms of these lead announcer wars and everything. But speaking of lead announcers, you had it. Go on, sir.
I was just saying, let me tell you a little bit about that.
Okay.
I very much respect fans' ability to have an opinion. They are the consumers. That's who you're there to please. I do get a little bit disappointed that people who haven't done the job feel like they might know how to do the job better than you. There's a lot going on in a live telecast.
Oh, yeah.
A lot going on. And the reason people have those jobs is because they've demonstrated over time they're the best at it. I don't care whether it's the producer, the director, the camera operators, the replay operators. They've demonstrated over time they're damn good at it and better than most. And I have the utmost respect for that. It's why you'll never see me on social media being critical of someone else's broadcast, because I know there's 1,000 things going on all in 1 second. When you're doing a live telecast, you have 100 decisions to make every second of that telecast. It's hard. If it was easy, it wouldn't be so hard to get those jobs. So, it'd be like me jumping on and being critical of the guy flying the F-16 going by. Heck, I don't know what it's like to fly an F-16, so I'm not going to criticize him. I get a little disappointed at people on social media sometimes, because there does have to be some understanding that, it takes some skill to do that job, and there are usually reasons why things are done the way they're done. Now, do people make mistakes? Sure they do. I could make you probably a list of my top 10 greatest mistakes far easier than my top 10 favorite races. Right? Because that's how we are. We always want to get it perfect, and nobody's ever been perfect. But so I get a little disappointed at that stuff sometimes, and it's a shame that it's the way that it is. But that's the world we live in. The world seems to be criticized first and consider later, and I'm kind of the opposite way. I give consideration first, and then criticize if appropriate.
So now at this time, we're getting to the point where we're getting nerve-wrackingly close to a new television contract. And with NBC Sports Network going away after 2020, and people who believe that Fox is leaving, what's left? I'm convinced in the next 3 seasons, Mike Joy's going to retire. Because he's the same age as my mother, and she's 71. But anyway, here are some things that I think you guys need to know. Rick Allen is not leaving NBC. It's going to take something catastrophic to happen for that to happen. I do not think Rick Allen has any intent of going back to Fox, and I don't think NBC has any intent of letting him go. So forget that immediately. What about Jamie Little? Jamie Little, well, she's been getting some experience covering ARCA races. Is she there yet? No. But she's getting there. What I see Jamie Little doing is replacing Vince Welch in the truck booth in a few years, if not earlier. Because Vince Welch, he tries to be what I think we all know Steve Burns would have been if he was able to cover the truck races even today. But Vince just doesn't have what Steve had. I'm sorry, Vince, but you're a pit road guy. You're not a lead announcer. And I know you know that. And there's a lot of people out there saying, what about Lee Diffie? Well, in terms of his position, I could see him doing the non-combination weekends for NBC in terms of the Xfinity series, because honestly, Dave Burns is not good in that position either. But with Lee, I could also see him doing either IndyCar or maybe go back to Australia and do some races for their main series there, or even him doing the Stadium Super Trucks like I know he has been. But the big question is, what about Bestwick? Well, he's going to do the SRX series and stuff, so that's cool. But the question is come time for the NASCAR contracts, where does he go? Well, there's only one way I see this. I think Bestwick only comes back when Mike Joy retires. And that's going to happen before Rick Allen leaves NBC. I'm still not convinced that Bestwick would be willing to go back to NBC in terms of big-time NBC. And that's why I'm more convinced he replaces Mike Joy when he retires. He definitely has a lot more in the tank in terms of commentating. So, whether it be when Joy retires and or Fox leaves, and I hope to God they do, that's ran its course. They're done. They've been done for years. But seriously, that's how it is. Bestwick comes back when Mike Joy retires and or Fox leaves NASCAR for good. And that's pretty much it. Everything regarding the commentary wars since 2001. Not 2011 when I joined YouTube, but 2001 when the Fox versus everyone else thing started. Don't try and rage out against all these other announcers just because they're not Mike Joy. Because what you're doing is excusing Mike's bad commentary over the last few years, and especially 2021. And you guys are missing out on the excellent commentary of other announcers. And that includes Bestwick. So, Joy Boys, do us a favor. Stop. You're not helping the situation. You're making it worse for everyone. You're making it worse for Rick Allen. You made it worse for Marty Reid. You're trying to make it worse for Allen Bestwick. And you're even making it worse for Mike Joy himself. So this, I hope, puts an end to the commentary wars. And the Mike Joy versus the world thing. Because it's been ridiculous for a long ass time. It really has. Because if you guys don't try to enjoy the commentary of the other announcers, and especially Bestwick and Rick Allen now, you will be missing out. And that's very bad. So, that's the end of that video. I hope you guys learned a lot of lessons in terms of the commentary wars. And know that Mike Joy is not the end-all, be-all of announcing. Are you guys really going to stop watching when he retires? Because that would be a horrendous reason if it is. But seriously, I do hope this puts an end to the commentary wars and the ridiculousness of the Joy Boys. So, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for watching. This is Ultimate 23 Dragon, and that's my final answer.